Good afternoon from Southeast Asia. If you have been to England ever, you know that English is rarely spoken in England. Now, there's a reason for that, and I have studied that extensively. And the way this came into being, the way this curiosity came into being was that we do an awful lot of alien encounter podcasts, and we go through reports of alien stuff, interactions, maybe tall tales, bullshit, most of it. We go through them, and we get quite a few reports from England, and we have to go through and read the written reports directly from England. And the problem is that those written reports, even though they're, it kind of looks like English, it's not. It's some other morphodite, bastardized dialect of something somewhere. Now, most people don't understand what that is, but I do, and I'm going to tell you. Okay, now here's how this came into being. The reason you cannot understand English is this. Long, long time ago, I believe around the 9th or 10th century, 9th century, I think. There were a bunch of people in East Africa, all up and down the coast of East Africa. In those days there were no country, no political boundaries, but, groups lived here and groups lived there. And a lot of them along the east side of Africa spoke Swahili. That was a native language. And Swahili is still spoken today. It has survived amazingly. In fact, it seems to be, enjoying a little bit of a resurgence. I don't know why, really, but it is. Whatever. That's not our focus. There were a lot of, we're going to call them, well, you could say Swahilians. I don't know. Anyway, there was a bunch of those people speaking Swahili, okay? And as so happens sometimes, pretty often, well, maybe even always, you got some big group of people and there's going to be some malcontents in there. And the malcontents kind of band together, form their own little cliques and groups, and they, little by little, they tend to separate themselves from the main population. So that happened in the regions of those Swahili land, along the eastern coast. Okay, so over a period of, some hundreds of years, this group of malcontents who were originally, part of the core Swahili speaking people, they became disenchanted, disenfranchised with the motherland, their mother core tribes of people. And so they started splitting off. And that caused some strife. And then some squabbles, and then some battles, And basically, both sides are just kind of giving each other the middle claw, saying, F you, we hate you. No, we hate you more. No, we're going to kill you. Okay, and it went like that for a couple hundred years. Okay, so finally, these malcontents were far outnumbered by the base core population of the Swahili people. But they were mouthy. Oh God, they were mouthy. They were just that's rude, insolent sons of bitches, So they're always mouthing off to the Swahili people. That was the people who gave them life, for God's sake, Anyway, they couldn't stop the insults, and they couldn't stop the mouthing off and the foul crap. And it so happened that the population along the eastern coast was pretty white-skinned. They were African, but not all Africans. They have all kinds of different skin tones. They're not all one skin tone. They tend to be darkish, but not all. And anyway, so this group, the core group of the Swahilis, started getting more and more pissed off at the malcontented Swahilis. And they started pushing him, saying, look, you don't like us. We don't like you. Just go. Just go. Look, hoof it. Come on, a little faster. Come on, just go west. There's a lot. God, it's a big country. Go west. You can just go west. You can be left alone. And, come on, let's go. Here's your stuff. Come on. We really don't like you. We're tired of killing you. We got other things to do. Come on, trot. You can walk faster. Trot. And they got sharp sticks and they're poking him in the back, poking him in the ass. Go west. Okay, so the malcontented Swahilians, whatever, they kind of sort of got the message and like, okay, shit, this just isn't working out, Eastern Africa is not big enough for the both of us, and so they started trekking west, crossed Africa. God, it was a long time. Took them, 100 freaking years, 50 years, something like that, to get across there, and they ended up settling along the northwestern bulge of Africa, the Horn, sort of. And they settled along in there, and there was other people there, and they didn't really like these malcontents either. They're just troublemaking, big mouth, flapping their Swahili jaw, they just couldn't stop. God, they just caused trouble every place they went. Every place they went, they caused trouble. And so their lives over there in northwestern Africa, that wasn't very good either. And one of the problems was that the original core of Swahili people, it just continued to rankle them. They could not forget the insults that had been hurled at them by the malcontented Swahilis. They just couldn't let it go. Even though this group of malcontents, I don't know how many, a few 100,000, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not sure. Even though they're gone, they're over there in West Africa. The people from East Africa just couldn't let it go. They're like, let's go get them. Let's go wipe them out because we don't like them, We don't want them in Africa. Let's just kill them all. Yeah, that's a good idea. We got nothing better to do. We've had a good year harvesting snake meat and stuff like that, and we're fat. We can leave the wives for a year, Let's just go get those bastards and kick their asses. Let's just kill them. And so they did. They put together their warring factions, a bunch of tribes, and they agreed upon the mission. And the mission was to go west, find where the malcontented Swahilians had set up shop, and find them and just slaughter them. Just make sure they don't ever come back. That was kind of what they were thinking, I'm pretty sure. Just get them gone. Just, into the sea, into the corn, out of sight, out of mind, gone. Okay, so that was the deal. And they trudged across all of Africa. Trudged across through the swamps, through the jungles. And they got there, and they found them. They weren't hard to find. They're the only people over there in all of West Africa that spoke Swahili, so all they had to do was go around, say, hey, anybody speaking some stupid shit language? And everybody, yeah, those guys, go, get them, we don't like them. And a bunch of those people, the locals, joined in because they knew this was a big brewing battle. And they wanted the Swahilis, the malcontents, they wanted them out also. So now they got a big force. They got the original Swahilis, and they got the add-ons, coming into the forces. Every mile that they marched to the west, they added more and more and more to them. And pretty soon, they outnumber the malcontents by, 20, 30, 40, 50 to 1, And they cut up with the core populations of them, and they slaughtered the ones they found along the way. And nobody stopped them. They didn't care, This is just a bunch of rude, insolent assholes. Just, please kill them. We'll help you. Some of the wives are kind of hot. You can have them. Whatever. We don't give a shit. Just, there'd be all the more snakes for us, And so there were some battles and some skirmishes in And the big army, they met up with the core of the malcontented Swahili people there in West Africa. And they started to have a big battle. And the malcontents, they just said, hey, wait. No, this is bullshit. You outnumber us 30, 40, 50 to 1. We're going to lose. We're kind of stupid, but we know we're going to lose. And the big army, they said, well, what do you propose? What do you want to do here? Because, you just, all I got to do is I go like that. You're dead. You're just dead. You're just fucking dead. Easy, we won't even get scratched. And the malcontents, they said, well, we could kill you all if we wanted to because we're tough and we got really, really big mouths, We can insult you right to frickin' death, if we wanted to. But, wait a minute, but. No, that hurts. God, stop it. I'm not finished yet. Jesus, great, God. Let me finish. But here's what we propose, assholes. What do you say we just hoof it on up north? We'll just go. Because the handwriting's on the wall here. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but, our words will never really hurt you all that much. So we're just going to go. We're not really happy here anyway. We don't like these people. They're assholes. Everybody's assholes. F them. We're going to go north. And the main force, they said, good idea. And so they hung around, helped them pack up. They took the women they liked, ate a lot of the kids because they were hungry, after trudging across to Africa. It's hard. That's a long sticking way. And I don't think the malcontents really complained all that much because they know they're going on a long, long trek to the north. They don't even know what's north. They don't even know what's up there. They just know, that's one direction that's away from the Swahilis. And maybe better not to have all that many kids anyway, If they're under 10, they can't really carry anything. They can't even catch a snake, for God's sake. They're just a liability and they're a lot of trouble. So they kind of left them behind a little bit, and then the main Swahili force would snatch them up and eat them. Nobody really cared, So once the malcontents are gone, they're gone. They're trudging north to new horizons. Okay, so the main force of the original stock Swahilis, they said, okay, mission accomplished. See ya. Don't frickin' come back. Don't do it. Don't even think about it. And of course the malcontents, they're just mooning them and flipping them off and shit like that as they're going north. But whatever, it's no big deal. No skin off the nose of the real Swahilis. Okay, so the Swahilis, they go home. And everything's fine back in Swaziland, Swahili land and like that. Everything's okay. Done. Now those bastards, those malcontents, those bastard sons of bitches, they're gone, we don't know where they're going, but they ain't coming back here. So, done deal. So, now the malcontents, they're trudging, going north. They don't know what the hell they're going to find. And I can't remember the numbers. You can look it up. You can Google it. I'm thinking 200,000, something like that. 150,000, something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I forget some of the details, So they get up to the northern coast, and they're thinking, oh, hell, what are we going to do now? Can't stay here. We try to settle here. Those bastards, those Neanderthal bastards, they're going to come and kill us. Like they did before, And so they learn to make some rafts and shit like that, tie logs together, stuff like that. And, they paddled on across that little creek kind of a thing there between Africa and Great Britain. Not a creek, it's more like a river, pretty big. But they paddled across there, and I don't know what the attrition rate was. It's hard to get really accurate stats, from back then. Because now we're talking 1200, 1300s, I think, somewhere around in there. No, 1100, 1200, I think, in there, AD. And but they lost a lot of people crossing that little inlet, because they weren't sailors anyway, and the water up there is cold, and the stuff got them. I guess, I don't know. They got tired. They slipped off the log. Who knows? Probably had some little storm or something. I don't know. But they lost a lot of people. They probably lost. I don't know. From reading the historical records, I would guess 20 to 30% of their people just crossing that little piece of water to get to Great Britain. But anyway, they finally made it, and they all, coagulated on the southern shores of Great Britain, and they kind of got their bearings and got their senses together, and they're thinking, hey, it's colder than F, but, I don't know, maybe there's some possibilities here. It's, there's a lot of game. There's not really too many snakes, and, it's not too bad, really. It's not so jungly. Maybe we could make a life here. And they ran across some locals, and the locals were not too bad. They didn't share any language, and so it was difficult for the locals to figure out that these Swahili malcontents were assholes, because it takes a while. If you can't speak their language, it takes a while to figure out they're assholes. Anytime you go to a new culture anywhere in the world, and if you don't speak that language, you're not going to know who's who in those people. You're not going to know if you're dealing with good people or bad people, because their customs and their mannerisms and their language and everything is different. So it takes really seriously about 10 times as long to figure out if another culture, what makes the people tick. And so that was really to the benefit of the malcontents up there in southern Great Britain, because nobody knew they were assholes. It took them a long, long, long time to figure it out. But they wanted to see what was more to the north, because there was a lot of people along the southern coast there. And they thought, shit, we kind of wanted to find a place of our own. So they just kept pushing north. They didn't have to go very far. And they got into what turned out to be pretty much the center of the island of Great Britain. And now they call it England, but of course then it wasn't called anything. They probably had some Swahili name or something. I don't know. I don't really care. And so they settled in there, and there were some locals around, but really not that many. They killed pretty much everybody they came across, because that's the way of the Swahili malcontents. They like to kill stuff. So they did. They killed a lot of people up there in what's now England. And there was, at that time, there wasn't really too much of a cohesive social network there. There were just stragglers. There were people from Scotland had come down a little bit south, and people from Wales had come a little bit east, and like that. There was a few Frenchy frogs hanging around, but it really, not a cohesive society. So it was easy just to pick them off, no, I want that land. F you, kill them, stick them in the guts with a sharp stick, So they just went around doing that. And pretty soon people learned to fear them, because they were just illogical, irrational, violent freaking assholes. And so they settled there. They settled there in central Great Britain. And they went along, and people didn't really bother them too much. They figured they were way far enough away from the original core Swahili population that they'd never be bothered by them. And, the few groups that were around them weren't really pushing back too hard. And they thought, okay, this is our land. This is where we're going to live now. It might have been as early as 10th century, 11th century. I can't remember exactly. It doesn't matter. It's a long, long time ago. It's 1,000 years. And so they were speaking Swahili, okay? They're speaking their bastardized slang version of Swahili. And that's one of the things that actually caused a lot of the friction between the malcontents and the traditional Swahilians. Okay, that was one of the big rifts that they had, was that nobody could understand them anymore. It's like even in the U.S. today, you have segments of the population who are just continually trying to make up their own language. It's not based on English, it's just some other shit that they lead such isolated lives in their little hoods and stuff that they lose track of English, and they start speaking some other shit that nobody can understand except them, and then they try to go get a job and they can't because nobody can understand them, and then there's dialects within dialects, and then pretty soon even those people can't understand each other, and no, you can't do that. But anyway, the Swahili malcontents, who had claimed the England area for their own, they just continued to bastardize that Swahili language until it got to the point where it was barely recognizable from Swahili, from the original Swahili. It just got worse and worse and worse, and it was just a mess. They came up with so many bizarre words that they invented out of thin air. They got weird crap. They did bog roll. What the hell's a bog roll? Dosh. Begsy. Chock-a-block. What the hell? What does that mean? Chock-a-block. Does that mean to rape a tiger? What the hell does that mean? Chock-a-block. What? Okay, no one knows. Only they know. Like Gormless, and they got God Swallop. No, it's Cod Swallop. What in God's name is that? I don't know. Nobody knew. So they're and they had this weird accent that had originally been Swahili, but then as they integrated a little bit with the Welsh and the Scots and people around there, and then a few people from over on Snake Island, Ireland, like that. That tended to morph and change their accent a little bit, and those people introduced some words, and they ended up with this bizarre language that only those people, we'll call them the English now, only they could understand each other. Now, the Scots saw this developing, and they came down quite a few times and said, look, we can't even understand you. You want to trade shit with us? You got to learn to speak some kind of English, because we don't know what the hell God you're speaking. It sounds like a dog with a gut ache or something. Holy crap, and the Scottish tried to teach him English, and then much later, up in the 1700s, Americans started going over, and they were trying to tutor the English in English, and they were just highly resistant to it. They just didn't want to listen. They didn't want to learn. They had their dialect, and they spoke it the way they wanted to speak it. And if you couldn't understand all that, just too damn bad. We don't care. And so that's kind of the way it just developed like that. And now it's called British. Eventually all the Americans and the Scots and the Snake Island people and everybody else, they just gave up, because they finally realized that those English people, they're never going to learn English. They got this bastardized Swahili shit that they speak, and that's all there is. That's as good as it's ever going to get. And so anyway, when we were doing those alien reports that came from England, we would have to go through it, and I could translate them pretty much, like 80%, 85%. I could translate and turn them into English that people could understand. I could do that with a written word. I couldn't do it with a spoken word. If there was audio of those reports, I couldn't understand a damn word. Might as well be speaking, I don't know, Swahili or something like that. And that's the way it continues until today. The British, the English, the British, some of them learned to speak English a little better. You got some dialects there in England that aren't even remotely close to the God's own English. Some of them are just, I don't know. If they say something like it's a beautiful day today, it sounds so grating on the nerves. It's fingernails on a blackboard. You just want to slap them. Oh, God, it's horrible. Anyway, okay. So now there's not a lot of schools that teach this. Some do. So I'm going to go ahead and suggest that, for any educational purposes, a school, a real bona fide certified educator can use this little tutorial on how the British came to speak whatever the hell it is they speak. I mean, it's kind of loosely based on English now because the Scottish and the Americans and so forth, they came in and they tried to clean up this British language. It helped a little bit, 10% probably it helped. If you get them to repeat something 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, and you make them speak really slowly, and sometimes you keep a scratch pad and you make them spell out the word that they're trying to speak. Sometimes you can order a lunch, in England. You can do that. I mean, you're not going to have any deep philosophical conversations or anything like that. Unless, I was going to say, unless you go learn Swahili. There are more and more people today who are learning Swahili, and I don't know why, but what the hell, they going to Swaziland? Who wants to learn Swahili? But anyway, people more and more, they're learning it. And I was going to say, if you went and learned Swahili, then you could go to England and speak with the British. But no, you can't, because the British have now deviated so far from even Swahili. I mean, they made it away from Swahili, but they didn't make it all the way to English. So what's the halfway point in between? It's called British. That's where they're at. So when you have to do business of any kind like that, you just got to muddle through as best you can. I am actually an English teacher. I'm not going to waste my time on the British, arrogant bastards. They don't even listen, They just give you the middle claw, moon you, get back to speaking their shit. I've given up, as most have. Now, that's the story of the British language. People out there in Snake Island, Ireland, that's a whole different story. They are not related to that at all. And then you got the Welsh. The Scottish are one of the few that speak the God's own English. Where am I from? Scottish are the God's people, okay? In every way. I don't know why they didn't come down and rout out the British. God knows they should have, but maybe someday they will, Maybe I could agitate them, stir them up. Oh, okay, whatever. That's a whole nother video. Okay, so there you go. There you have it. So educational people, certified, bona fide educational people, you can use this in your classroom. And your students, your students will learn stuff. Okay, they'll learn about the real, true history of the world and humanity. God knows they're not, God knows they're not getting the truth out of you. That's enough. I can't do any more. No. Thank you very much, and good evening and good night. Holy crap.